everyone. Welcome to Good Morning Black People with Morgan Reese. And I am your host, Morgan Reese. And I have the amazing comedian, radio show personality, actor, everything. I mean, his resume is large as could be. The one and only Tone X from Charlotte, North Carolina, Queen City's own number one DJ in my mind, Tone X. And we're going to bring him on in just a moment. I'm going to do my intro. He's actually an amazing guy. And I can't wait for us to jump in with. We're going to do my intro, and we'll come right back to him in just a moment.
That's it.
Good morning, Tone. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, sis. I'm doing better than I deserve. How you feel?
Amazing. It's a wonderful Wednesday. Can't complain at all. Again,
No.
I'd like to thank you for joining my show. Again, everyone, this is Good Morning Black People with Morgan Reese. And I am your fantastic and wonderful host, Morgan Reese. And I have the awesome Tone X, the comedian from Once Upon a Time to coming to the day now where he's like off the chain, doing so much. He got his hands busy in so many things. Tone, thank you again for taking time for coming to my show. And I know you're such a busy man, so we're just going to kick it in right there. Tell everyone, where are you actually from? Are you from Charlotte, or where are you actually from?
I'm from Wilmington. I'm from the Port City. I moved up to Charlotte in 97.
97. Okay. Because I remember when I moved here 7 years ago, I heard you on the radio, and he was like, "Welcome back, I'm back, guys. 15 years, here I am." And I was like, didn't even know who he was. So I had to do my research, and I saw you from way back when of Bad Boy Comedy. That's long time. I remember looking up that, and I was like, I remember that skit. I know that was him. He looked much better now.
Okay.
He was younger now. So tell us about your career beginning as a comedian and to where you at right now. So what made you decide to be a comedian? Because everybody think they got jokes. Everybody think they're funny.
I was doing it in class, in school a lot. I used to mess around in school. I used to do sound effects and noises, and then like during lunch back in the day, we would play the dozens, and we were cracking in the cafeteria, on the bus, and that was a way how you kept a lot of people off of you, depending on how you snapped on people. So I used to do that, and when I went to the military, I used to do NCO clubs. I would host, and then people was always like, you're funny, you should try comedy. So when I got out of the military, and I came to Charlotte to the Comedy Zone to an open mic. And I was talking to my man, Nate Smith, and he let me go on. And when I went up and I performed, I got a standing ovation. And I was like, oh, I said, okay, well, maybe I might want to try this. And I kept going back. And then that eventually morphed into when I came up here to do radio. Then I started hosting out at the old Comedy Zone. And I did Def Jam in 95. So that gives you like a timeline on when I got into it and how long I've been doing it. And it's just manifested. Comedy is a never-ending journey. I remember Bill Cosby saying, as long as I can talk, I can work. So comedy is a never-ending journey because life is a never-ending journey. And comedy is just a reflection on what we see as comedians and things that are going on in the world, as well as what's going on in our personal lives. We just have a platform where we get a chance to bring it in front of an audience and make it funny. So the journey has been beautiful. It's still going. I mean, we're pushing 30 years in the game. And so I don't see myself stopping, not when it comes to comedy, because comedy is therapeutic. So it's more helpful to the comedian than it is to the audience. The audience just doesn't understand that. And so a lot of times it's a big therapy session. You just happen to be in the session, and the way that you reward us by what we're talking about is your laughter and your attention. So Laughter is still the best medicine. So I'm going to try to continue to laugh until I can take my last laugh and make people laugh.
As they say, as you said, laughter is the best medicine. Also, is a form of healing. So it looks like you've been healing with whatever you had going on in your personal and your professional, your journey that way. Let me ask you this: how did you end up getting with Def Comedy Jam and Bad Boys of Comedy? That was once upon a time. You were on a level like kings of comedy, in my opinion. And I love the greatest comedians like Richard Pryor, Bernie Mac, Red Fox. Yeah, I'm old school. Don't sleep on me. I'm about to be 50. Don't sleep on me.
I see you shouting out them old school comedians.
Old school all day. So
Um,
how did you get connected with Def Comedy Jam and Bad Boys? Like I miss those type of comedian sets where we don't have that no more. So how did you connect with them?
this is my man Walter Latham, and Walter Latham was the gentleman that was behind Kings of Comedy and Kings and Queens of Comedy. Um, I was in a Zima Clearmont competition. I know people don't even remember Zima Clearmont, but I was in a competition that they had, a comedy competition, and the winner got a chance to open and then eventually go on tour, is what happened with me, with the Bad Boys of now comedy and the Kings of Comedy. Um, when I went to Def Jam audition, I went up to the Peppermint Lounge. If anybody know about comedy back in the day, my man Bob Sumner in Jersey, you heard about the Peppermint Lounge. And I remember that night, Queen Latifah was in there. Um, a couple more people was in there because I remember Queen Latifah autographed a plane ticket that I had. It was the only thing that I had. I had a plane ticket and she autographed it. And I went up last. And by that time, I'm like, man, they get ready to kill me. They don't want to hear no more comedy. So I went up and I did my thing. And that was my audition for Def Jam, actually. And I got picked, and I was the second person in North Carolina to take Def Jam. I think Nick Lewis, my man Nick Lewis, was the first cat um, to take Def Jam, or Terry Tuff out of Raleigh, I believe, was the first cat, and I was the second. And that was 1995. Went to New York. That's when I first met Kid Capri, and me and Kid have been cool ever since. And take Def Jam, and that was my first TV comedy airing or comedy show that I did. Of course, that was on HBO back in the day, and Russell Simmons laid the work for that. And then that went on to Comic View. That went on to Bad Boys of Comedy. That was with P. Diddy. That was something else that Walter Latham was a part of. Walter Latham was also a part of Comedy After Dark, which we did in Miami. And shouts out to Kevin Hart because him and Mike Epps collaborated to bring Comic View back on BET. So that should be real nice. That should be real nice.
Wow. So you have an amazing, impressive, extensive resume. And I didn't even know that was you until I met you now. And I'm like, and then I go back into the old videos and I love YouTube. Shout out to whoever created YouTube that you can go watch those old videos from back then until now. So let me ask you this. How did you transition from the comedian, but you're still doing the comedian to now you became the radio show host, radio personality? Or was that all a part of your expertise, but you were just like, okay, I'm gonna still do my comedy thing, but I've always wanted to do the radio.
I was doing comedy before radio, and then in Wilmington, I was doing radio. I was doing production. I was doing a lot of voiceovers for a lot of clubs in Wilmington, and then I would sit in with my man Rod Cruz sometimes on the morning show, and that was Coast 97.3. And then in 97, I came up after meeting with BJ Murphy, and I didn't even know it was an opportunity for an opening on the morning show. And then once he talked to me, I came up here and started doing radio on Power 98, but I'd still been doing comedy. So I used to always tell people that I'm not a radio personality that does comedy. I'm a comedian that does radio. So I always was doing comedy, but the radio came as a part of it. So that was just another platform for me, an extension, because now not only can I perform on stage, on TV, but now I can perform on radio. So it was just another platform, but it was just still a part of comedy. It was just now on radio, which was really nice.
Nice, nice. Wow. You have an impressive resume, Tom. I promise you have a impressive resume. So, what are you doing right now in the community in Charlotte? I see you all over the place. I see you got this going on. You got Grown Man Radio. Well, how did that come about? Grown Man Radio. In my opinion, a lot of people ain't ready for it, but I'm ready for it. And if you ain't grown, then you ain't ready to be on the Grown Man Radio. How about that? Or be a part of
Grown Man Radio came into being because it was a natural transition from when I started in radio on the hip hop station when I was much younger. Then I went to Atlanta. When I went to Atlanta, I was on the Monique show on BET for 2 seasons, and then I started touring with Monique, and I came back to Charlotte in 2017. And I said the only way that I would come back and do radio is if I had my own show. So that was the Tone X show, which was Grown Man Radio on V1019. And so Grown Man Radio was a part of my maturation process. And that's just the journey. When you're younger, you think a different way versus when you're older, because being younger to get to the point of maturing, to get to a point where you can look back because you are older. That means you've learned a lot. That means you have a lot of information that you can give to people. And so that's all Grown Man Radio is. I always say when Malcolm X used to do a speech, he would always start off by saying, I came to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. So that was the foundation of Grown Man Radio. That was the blueprint. A lot of times in our community, we're not privileged to a lot of information firsthand. We're not privileged to a lot of things. So a lot of times we really don't have the platform where we can get this information out. And so that's what I wanted to make sure when I was on the microphone and I was talking to the people. I wanted them, of course, I wanted to make them laugh and have some humor, but it was built on truth. And I wanted to make sure that they listened and got some good information. And I wanted to make sure that when they listened to my show, that they left feeling better than when they started listening. So Grown Man Radio is just another extension of me. That's all. I'm grown. So what I do on the radio has to be a reflection of myself.
And when you say we're going to go back to truth, so I read online, I've heard the stories. I want you to tell your truth. How did you end up transitioning and being departed from B101.9 to where you at now? Because gossip blogs and everybody else like that was saying, well, this is where it was, and I heard some things, and other people was hearing some things. And because me, I'm one of those people. I want to go right to the source. How do you feel about that transition? Or what was you thinking in your mind when that happened to get you where you at Grown Man Radio? Because my thing is, even though that was one door closed, God always have another door waiting for you right over for you. You step right in it.
I think a lot of people who work corporate jobs, after a prolonged period of time, you have a tendency for your mindset to change from temporary to permanent. And I always used to say, if you don't own it, you can't run it. If your name ain't on the outside of the building, then you can't run it. So you're temporary. It doesn't matter how long you've been somewhere or how long you've been with a company, you're temporary. So that check that you get every 2 weeks, every month, those benefits, all of that plays into comfortability. And a lot of times we become comfortable and we become stagnant. And a lot of times we compare it to money. If I don't do this, then I'm going to miss this. And how can I pay for this? So this is what happens when you're going through your journey. A lot of times, I remember Steve Harvey used to talk about jumping and how sometimes you go on the cliff and you won't jump. You see other people jump, but you won't jump for the fear of how you're going to land. And the whole thing about jumping is you can't worry about how you're going to land. You just have to believe and have faith that you will land. So it's not how you land, it's if you land. So a lot of times God will say, okay, well, we see you're not going to move. So I'm going to move you because you are comfortable and you love talking to the people, but this isn't the end all, be all. And so when I went to work that day, it was a Thursday, and I walked in and I got called to the office. I remember this, and I had told somebody, I said, Dad, I got called to the office like a kid that did something in school. So felt like I was going to the principal's office. And so when I went to office, they started talking to me, and then they informed me that the budget, the budget was the reason why my show was not going to be on air anymore. And it was final because he said, you don't even have to do tomorrow's show because your obligation with the company is done. And I was like, well, no, I have to do tomorrow's show because it's Friday. I've been here all week. Plus, I got to let the people know that I'm getting ready to leave. And they were like, well, no, we don't think that's a good idea because of the feedback and the energy that they could possibly get. So I was saying to myself, you think after all these years, you come back Monday and I'm not on the air. It's only a matter of time before people are like, well, he's not on the road. He can't be on vacation. We ain't heard him tell him what's going on. So you take that as a life lesson. You can be upset, which I was. You can be bitter, which I wasn't. You can harbor resentment, which I don't. And you just move on. And you look at it as, okay, well, God definitely has something else, something better, something that is an outward projection of myself versus trying to put yourself in a system that won't allow you to be 100% yourself. So it's a blessing. Hindsight is 2020. You might not like it. You might not love it. You might not understand it. But you will have to deal with it because life be lifing. And so you just have an attitude of gratitude. You try to find the positivity in it and you keep it moving. I mean, and once you're done with it, you're done with it. You just continue to live in the now. You don't go and revisit it. That was a chapter of your life. And when it's closed, it's closed. And it wasn't like the book was that great that when it closed, every now and then you go on the bookshelf and pull it open and start reading from your favorite parts. It's when it's closed, it's closed. As a matter of fact, with that book, it's closed. You've read it. I can give that book and donate it. I could give that book to Goodwill, or I can give that book to somebody else because I know I'm not going to read it anymore.
Right.
So it's a done deal, and I'm good with where I am now. It took me a minute to get here because you start to ask yourself, well, is this something that I still want to do? I know there's other things that I want to do, but I've been doing this so long. Is this still something that I want to do? And so your answers will come. Eventually your answers will come. You know, it's not going to be like you want it, but your answers will come. And then doors will open up and you'll be like, wow, I wouldn't have been able to do this when I was there. Or I wouldn't have been able to go here and do this when I was there. So the journey is a beautiful thing. You know, like Nas said, minus the BS, life is good.
Amen to that, brother. Guys, you got some trinkets right there. So I heard through the grapevine that you're creating a new project in honor of your mom. Tell us more a little bit about that. Anything people be talking and tell them about the good things that you're doing.
Um, well, my mother transitioned years ago, and it was one of the hardest things to um, take in, digest, try to understand, wrap your mind around it. For a lot of people, um, especially for Black men, a lot of times you see your parents as superheroes, and especially your mom. So you, in your mind, you like, my mom is going to be with me as long as I'm here. Or that's the picture that you paint. And then when it happens, what you understand is there is no preparation. There is no instruction manual. There is no post classes. It's life and again. And so it's something that you have to go through on your own. And depending on the relationship you had with your mom, is how you deal with it. The closer you were with your mom, probably the more trouble you'll have, or the longer it's going to linger. Your grieving process could be years. So, what I found out was there is a large percentage of people who have lost their mothers, but don't have anybody to talk to about it. Can't find like minded people to express how they feel about losing their mom, how much they miss their mom, the things that they loved about their mom, what make them laugh when they think of their mom. You really don't have anywhere or anybody to talk to unless you can find somebody who has lost their mother or somebody in your family who's truly empathetic and can give you the ear. But if they have their mother, their perception is still not the same as yours for the simple fact that you still have your mother. So I've been wanting to create a safe space and a nonprofit organization. My mother had a nonprofit organization, and she was big in doing things in the community and helping other people. And I think this is something that will definitely help a lot of people. I'm going to call it MOM, MOM, and it'll be missing our mothers. And it's a place where if your mother has transitioned, you can come and we can talk about it. And in turn, we help each other. You form a friendship, you form a bond. It's a certain energy that you have when your mother has transitioned, and nothing against the people who still have their mother. But the line of all lines and the truth of all truths is no matter how hard you try to meet a person who has lost their mother, you will never be able to meet them where they are until you lose your mother and your mother transition. And then all of those things that made you scratch your head and look at a person different. And you were saying, man, he got to get over it. You got to get through it. That's life. They in a better place. All of that will come and hit you right in the face when you lose your mom, and then the conversation with that person will be totally different. The energy will be totally different. So I want to create that because I believe there are a lot of people who are stuck in a space between reality and perception when it comes to the transitioning of their mom. So that's what it is. And I'm excited about it because I know it's going to help me because the more that you can talk about it, the less tears you shed and the more smiles you make.
So let me ask you this question, because this question is coming out. So what's so special about the moms and not the dads? Because a lot of you are a man yourself. You are a husband, a father, possibly a grandfather. So you are a father figure. What's so special about the moms? Because most men say everyone's always about the moms. What about us dads? We are here too. We contribute to it. Unfortunately, it's not a big number percentage of it. But what's so special? They're saying, well, what's so special about us? How you forget about us, Tone? We be out here struggling too. We got issues too. We need that love just like you're giving the moms. Everybody always a mom. Mom's Day, Mother's Day, mom get nothing but mad love. Daddy's Day come. Happy Father's Day, Dad. Yeah,
I
everybody.
make jokes. I make jokes about that, talking about Father's Day is the stepchild of holidays, and nobody remembers the father. It's always mama, 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 mama.
Right.
But well, what we have to understand is a woman is the only one who can give life. A man can't do that. So that's a different energy. And if you would understand that a woman is the closest thing that a man has to God in the physical realm on this earth, then you wouldn't even worry about why is he talking about his mother and not his father. A woman is a man's first teacher. The love is different between a mother and a father. Now, if you were to ask a daughter, then a daughter might be more persuaded to talk about the father first and the mother second, because she might be a daddy's girl and she learns everything about a man from her father. But a man, a boy, his mom is the superhero. If you're privileged to see your mom and your father work together in the household like the Huxtables, then you're privileged. The majority don't get that background. It's single household. Either you live with your dad, you live with your mom, or you live with your grandparents. So when your mother transitions, there is a love and a bond that is lost. A lot of times you spend the rest of your life trying to find it. It's like a void. And the void is in here. It's not out there. It's in here. Because what you find out is no one, no love, no energy can fill, duplicate, replicate the energy from your mother. And so that's the reason why I chose my mother. And I chose people who have lost their mother, because that's just my focal point, knowing how it made me feel, knowing what I had to go through, and talking to a lot of people who have lost their mothers. That's what made me steer and do it for moms versus do it for fathers versus doing it for both parents. It is an intentional energy that I'm trying to connect and reconnect with people whose mothers have transitioned.
You done got my interest peaked, Tone. You done got my interest.
Mhm.
We're gonna put a
Mhm.
pause on that because I want you to
Okay.
be back. You have a
Okay.
lot of knowledge, a wealth of knowledge, and you got to share this with everybody more, because you got to think about this. Think about how many, mostly in the Black community, not too many in the other cultures, mostly in the Black and the Brown Latino communities. You have a lot of disconnect with children and parents, whether it's their mother or their father, whether they're still alive or they have transitioned on to wherever they're gone to. So I want to put a pause on that because I want to know if you're going to come back
Okay.
in this conversation.
All right.
We talk about this for hours and hours and hours, so we have time for that. But
Ain't no problem.
to end this, I need you to go ahead and make me laugh. I mean, we just need because on that note, I mean, there's a lot of emotions going on right now. When I tell you, like my own energy is hitting right now because my mother is still alive, but that's gonna be for a later story. And unfortunately, my dad did pass 3 years ago. 4th of July would be 3 years. So that's a subject that I want us to be able to enhance on, to provide a different thought and process on a different wisdom because you're a wealth of knowledge, Tone, and share that for another time. Is that possible?
Of course.
All right, so now you gotta make us laugh because I ain't trying to be crying on this show. I don't need y'all to see me boo.
Listen, I need y'all to follow me at Tonex Comedy. I need you to follow me at social media. Um, Make sure that you follow the podcast, Grown Conversations. All right, on Grown TV Network, Grown Conversations. Make sure that you follow the podcast. All right. Make sure that you download my radio. It's every Saturday, 3 to 7 p.m. It's on the Raw 704. We are the culture, Raw 704. So you go to raw704.com, download the app, and then you can listen to me on Saturdays, 3 to 7, getting it in. And also, we were talking about when I came to Charlotte and when I used to do Tone X and Friends. This was at the old Comedy Zone on Independence way back in the day. And then it went to Scandalos. And we were there every Tuesday night. And it was an era unlike no other. It was high energy. It was packed out every week. You never knew who was going to be in the building. Celebrities used to come through. It was a great time. And so after 15 years, we went back. And it's like your high school reunion. We had the Tone X and Friends reunion comedy show with myself and my brother from another mother, Chris Funnyman Robinson. And that was 2 months ago. And it was incredible, packed out. And once you came back in the club, it's called Dubai now, but you felt that energy from back in the day. It still looks the same. That's where I met Yolanda, who's now my wife, at the Comedy Zone that night at Scandalos. She was walking to the bathroom and I was standing in the hallway and she had this walk and I was like, damn, I was like, who is that walking like that? Like she was walking and I could see in front of her, behind her. And I was like, damn, that's very impressive right there. And they were like, oh, that's Yogi. And I was like, who is Yogi? And they was like, oh, she do hair. And I was like, she don't do hair. And she don't just do hair. She do something else too. Cause she had a little BMW and she was dope. She was a baddie. So I sent a letter to Anthony Mason, who used to always be there. That was my man. And I said, give this note to her. And it said, come through the kitchen and come meet me in the back. And I said to myself, if she come through this kitchen and meet me in the back, it's over for her. She don't even know this is a setup. Do not come through the kitchen and come in the back. And after the show, I turned around and she was right there with the note. She said, so you told me to come to the back. And that was 25 years ago.
Wow.
And that note changed my life.
Wow.
Because after that note, I was like, okay then, well, she back here now. So what we gonna do? And she didn't know what was coming. She didn't know she didn't know what was coming. I'll tell you what she told me. She told me I was just gonna be the new hot guy in town, that she was gonna be cool with, that she could, mess with every now and then and get free tickets to the comedy show. And I was like, well, when I met you, you was gonna be the little baddie that I was gonna take out of town with me. And we was gonna have fun, and I was gonna make sure you was on the guest list, and that was gonna be it. And then I said, hell, 25 years later, I was like, well, what happened? Who lied to who? Because this wasn't the game plan. This ain't what we talked about in the hallway that night. So who messed the game plan up? So 25 years later, still in the game.
Wow.
15 years married, still in the game. So, it's a beautiful thing. And Tonex and Friends is coming back for the grand closing. And Nikita B is headlining that. And the story with Nikita B is I remember when Nikita came to Scandalos and first went up on stage. And she told me she had been doing comedy like 3 months. And I told her after she got off the stage, I was like, you lied to me. You've been doing comedy longer than 3 months. And she was like, no, I haven't. I remember telling her, well, listen, you keep doing what you're doing, you're gonna be out the frame. And Nikita B is one of the funniest comedians, not just female comedians, but she's one of the funniest comedians in the game. And she's so versatile and well-rounded. She's incomparable. She can go anywhere and do what she does. And listen, if you haven't seen Nikita, I suggest you come out to the show. If you remember Nikita back in the day, come out to the show. Do you remember that night? Were you there that night when Nikita B touched the stage for the very first time at Tonex and Friends? We're bringing all of that back, but it's a grand closing. Because just like your high school reunion, it don't happen every year. It happened every 10 years. So listen, I suggest that you get your tickets and be in the building for this. It's going to be dope. All right. It is going to be dope. That's YNS Productions. That's Yolanda and her production team who does an incredible job. So, it is what it is. And I would love for everybody to be inside the building. It's going to be a great night of comedy, a great night of laughs. And I can't thank you enough for inviting me onto your platform, having me on your show. I've had an incredible time on here. I thought when you said we'll be coming back and we'll be talking more, you got more knowledge. I thought you meant after a damn break. But you mean I got the book another time because your time is running out.
That part.
Yeah, your Metro card, only has about 2.5 more minutes on that, but you're gonna have to reload that card. So I get it.
So you know how us Yankees are, as New Yorkers and us Philadelphians are.
Oh yeah, I know how y'all do.
Where I'm from, so you already peeped it.
That ain't even your card. That's the thing. That ain't even your card. That's a throwaway. As soon as that's done, you throw that away. That's like a burnout phone. I know how y'all do up top. I know how y'all do. I don't
know. Ain't nobody even gotta know anything. You already know how we do.
Be trying to pay phone bills with EBT cards. I know what y'all do. Y'all don't care.
And y'all do not say anything. I learned that when I moved down south. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna ask you one last question. When I first moved down south, us Northerners are not big on speaking to people. When we speaking to somebody, that means we really know you. And I remember when I first moved down south with my children and my ex-husband at the time, and we was walking, and this person said, "Hey, how you doing?" And we ignored him. We kept on moving. He said, "You know them?" I said, "No, I know them." And I said, "We keep speaking to them. Like, did we do something to them?" And I remember my dad before he passed, and he took me around the town, and he said hi to everybody. I said, "Hey, why are you speaking to all these people? Do you know them?" And he said, "No, boo-boo, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to speak to everybody. That's what you're doing the South." I said, "Well, I'm not from the South. I'm not speaking to those people because I don't know them." So I had to learn that we had to do this. So my ex-husband said, "Well, babe, if we don't give them eye contact, then they won't speak to us." I said, "Yeah, we should do that." So I started not giving eye contact. That didn't work. So I'm learning the Southern way of things, but the Northern way, 49 and a half years, boo. It can't go nowhere. I'm sorry. It is what it is.
You're going to have to speak down here or we'll make you speak.
Well, I've seen that. I've been down south about 20-something years now. I'm noticing that because if I don't speak, they'll be looking at me like, she's very disrespectful. She must come up north.
Anyway, what's wrong with her? What is wrong with her?
You already know I'm from up north. But I got better now. I do have a little bit of hospitality. I ain't going to say Southern hospitality because, there's a different version of Southern hospitality. Just want to say that. I'm not going to say it out loud.
Well, I can tell you this. Just have people hospitality.
Now, I got that all day, every day. When you see me, you be like, I can't believe you from up north because you're a different breed. I said, well, I am one of a kind, unique individual on purpose.
That's because it ain't where you're from, it's where you're at.
That part. So I have
Okay?
one question for you. Give me your favorite five comedians. Favorite five
Oh,
comedians. Favorite five. Old school, new school, it don't matter. Give me your favorite five. Tell me.
dang, that's not, that's like my top five MCs. That's like, it's so, like, that's so broad because you'd have to say, when you say your top five, but then you got top five females, and then you got top five comedian actors, and then you got, so it's so many. I got so many angles. You got top five white comedians. Like, it's so many angles. But okay, Monique,
And this should be one.
George Carlin, Eddie Murphy, Carlos Miller, DC Young Fly, and Chico Bean. They a team, 85 South. So all three of them as a collective is one slot. Richard Pryor. And you see, that's a quick five.
That's it.
But then I got so many more. You got Patrice O'Neal.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be in there somewhere. You got Chappelle. That's got to be in there somewhere. You got someone that I can say, and you're going to have to go Google him. Stephen Wright. Got to be up there somewhere. And see, you start throwing out names, you be like, who? Adele Givens. Some more. You know, ooh, top five is tough, but we can do that. We can use that list right there. And we can keep it right there.
We're gonna put a pause. We're gonna put a pin in that because when you come back on my show, we're gonna continue this conversation. We're definitely about your amazing project, what you got for your mom to honor your mom and other moms who are transitioning in this world, for people who have lost them. It was an honor to bring you on my show. Thank you for taking out the time, for coming on, making me laugh, making me think. Got me a little emotional, but you ain't gonna see no tears. You ain't gonna see no tears. But I look forward to bringing you back. Thank you for taking out the time to join my show. Again, guys, this is Good Morning Black with Morgan Reese. I'm your wonderful, amazing, fantastic host. Wonderful, amazing, fantastic host, Morgan Reese, with this amazing, awesome guy right here, this young man, Tone X. You see this handsome, debonair man? You look, guys, ladies, he shaking. Nope, can't have him. He off the, don't even worry about it. Don't even think about it. Don't even put no question in your mind. This amazing young man, Tone X, joining my show today. I appreciate you guys for watching. Please join me anytime on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at Good Morning Black with Morgan Reese. Thank you again. Be blessed.
Peace and blessings.